Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of our Spring Homebuyer Forum. We're delighted that you've joined us today. I will be your host. My name is Jen Fries. I am the Community Engagement Manager for the Harvard University Employees Credit Union. And again, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us and learn about the home buying process. That's today's topic. Just a few things, housekeeping details for you to know. For those of you who are joining us on this call and attending, we cannot see you and we cannot hear you. So go ahead and do what you need to do, eat your lunch if you want to, while you participate in the webinar. Don't worry about that. We're going to be using the Q&A feature, which is located in the same place your mute button and those kind of things are on your Zoom controls. If you go into the Q&A feature, you can submit questions at any point. We're mostly saving the questions to answer at the end. So don't worry, we will try and get to as many as we can. Right now, just so that we know your Q&A is working and you know how to use it, if you don't mind going into the Q&A and letting us know where you're joining us from, that is always nice to hear a little bit of where folks are coming from. This presentation is being recorded. It will be posted on the credit union's YouTube channel. Our handle is myHUECU. Welcome. I see we have folks from Watertown, Peabody, Boston, Salt Lake City, nice, and Quincy, Somerville, Southern Maine, JP. Great to see you all here. Thanks for joining us. Buffalo, New York, Las Vegas, but headed to Florida. That sounds really nice today. So thank you for coming today. We really appreciate you. At the end, we're going to ask you to fill out a survey, and that link will be in the chat. I see a couple of people, or someone was asking about that, and the link will be there, and you'll be able to comment on other days as well. Just by joining us here on this webinar, you have been entered into a raffle. So if you get an email from me about raffle prizes, it's not spam. You have won one of our prizes, which is an Amazon Echo Dot, a Ring doorbell, swag from HUECU, or a gift card to Etsy or Lowe's. So that's our thank you to you for joining us and being part of this event. A little bit about the credit union. We are a not-for-profit financial institution. We were founded by and are run by Harvard employees. And we do not have shareholders. We do not need to make a profit for shareholders. So everything that we do is centered around the needs of our members and giving back to the community and to our members. So if many of you who are on this call, I know are already members of the credit union. If you're not yet a member, we hope that you'll consider us and reach out if you'd like to join. We do have nationwide. I know people are joining from all over. We have a shared branching network with other credit unions and cooperative banking. So you can go into branches all around the country and branch and bank in person. Also, of course, we have the online digital banking available, so it's in the palm of your hand as well. So we're happy to serve you wherever you are. Just a little bit about the flow of the week. We've already heard from a realtor and an appraiser, from an attorney and a home inspector. Today, we're hearing from a couple of our mortgage loan officers about the home buying process. And tomorrow, we're discussing affordable path to home ownership. So we hope that you can join us for tomorrow's session if that's something that you're interested in. And now I'd like to introduce our experts. First, Ryan Duckless has been with the credit union for a decade. He primarily serves members at our MGH branch and the satellite branches. All our mortgage loan officers, though, travel all around. And then we're also going to hear from Daisy Familia. Daisy has more than 20 years of experience at the credit union. She loves to assist members in meeting their home buying dreams and She also is, in addition to being extremely experienced senior mortgage loan officer, uh, Daisy is fluent in Spanish as well. So if that's something that is of interest to you, take note of that. Daisy primarily serves our Harvard Square branch and the Longwood Medical Area community. So now, Ryan, would you please kick us off?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jen. Appreciate it. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for day 3 of our home buying seminar here. So for today's agenda, we're going to walk you through the home buying journey. We're going to go through the entire process of home buying. We touched, base on this kind of earlier in the week with the realtors, Dino and the attorneys, but now you're going to hear the lending side of it, which is phenomenal, which is why everybody's here. So second part, we'll go through the mortgage qualification. We're going to guide you through this loan process. And then finally, once you've been qualified, we're going to go on to the next steps of actually becoming a homeowner. The next slide, please. So as we've touched base on throughout this entire week, just the benefits of working with HUECU, biggest part, nonprofit institution. We're here for you, not to turn a profit. We offer a personalized service, so individualized to you as the borrower. We're here to assist you. We're available 7 days a week for whatever it is you need. Just reach out to one of the 4 loan officers and we will assist you. We have a range of mortgage products available to fit your needs, competitive rates and credits, mainly for our first-time home buyers. So the biggest benefits are those discounted rates, low down payment options, which we'll discuss tomorrow, and a closing cost credit. We also offer a digital process and in-house loan servicing for the life of the loan. Next slide, please. So where do I start? So as everybody's starting their home search, I'm sure you've seen all the tools online. You see Zillow, you see Redfin, all these great items that are out there. You take a look at properties. You might have even attended some open houses, just taking a look. But where do you actually begin this home buying journey? That's going to begin with being pre-approved or pre-qualified for a mortgage loan. So if we go on to the next slide here, we're going to discuss the 2 differences between the pre-qualification and the pre-approval. So the pre-qualification, that's more of an informative conversation with your loan officer. It's just going to be, you're going to reach out, we're going to run some scenarios for you just to see, hey, here's where you're going to qualify today based on the lending guidelines, the rates, all things considered, give you a better idea as you do start to shop, take a look at those kind of online resources and see, hey, I might qualify for this and it's of interest, and that's wonderful. It's good to know. It's a good starting point. It's non-formal, so feel free to reach out anytime. It's just a really great conversation to learn a little more. And we can also go over any questions you might have, discuss, closing costs, anything like that. So any individualized questions you have, that's a great time to do so. And everything goes well, we qualified you, we've discussed it. It's time to move on to that official pre-approval. So when you've been officially pre-approved, what that essentially is, it's a document from the lender saying that you have been pre-approved up to a certain amount. And with that, a seller of a property will know that you have the backing of a financial institution for purchasing this property. So when we get into this, the official pre-approval, we're going to verify all of these items. So we're going to run your credit. It will be a hard credit inquiry. We're going to discuss your down payment. So a few things with that. We're going to see how much do you intend to put down? Is there going to be PMI? We will have to factor that in. But also, where are the funds coming from? So we'll have to take a look at your asset documents if there are funds on hand that you currently own. Or, additionally, sometimes we do see with down payments, there are gift funds available from a family member. So we'll have to discuss that as well, too, because we will have to document that to qualify it for use as your down payment. But also, we're going to go through which products are going to work best for you. Conforming, jumbo, low to moderate, adjustable rates. We'll be able to kind of put that all out there. We'll verify your income. And then what we'll do is we'll produce that certificate for you, which will list you've been pre-approved at this date. It's good for 90 days. Borrower's name, loan amount, purchase price, and loan type. So that'll all be disclosed, but that's not set in stone. So obviously, as you do view properties, there is a little bit of fluctuation, prices, items like that. Just reach out to us. We can always make adjustments to you, adjustments to that pre-approval certificate for you to use. Next slide, please. Oh, big question we always get. How can I start saving for the down payment? How where do I go from here? I think one of the best tools that we have at the credit union is this partnership with Green Path Financial. You can just give them a call too. They can put you on a savings plan to assist you. Thanks, Ty, for putting that in the chat. There's the link there, everybody. So, yeah, but definitely reach out to them, go over your financial goals, long-term goals, short-term goals, and they can really, really assist you there. Free of charge too for our members. So that's wonderful. Next slide, please. So now that you have that pre-approval certificate, it's time to assemble your team. So you have the lender portion here. We went through everything. Everything is all set there. You've been pre-approved. It's time to find your buyer's agent. So when you do find your buyer's agent, you do want to call around and see an agent that's active in the community that you are interested in purchasing. And I think it's wonderful that they have their finger on the pulse of that neighborhood, that city, town, whatever you're looking for. You want to make sure that they are full-time. That way you know that they're going to be available, they're going to be able to assist you, and that they are also experienced. It's going to go a long way. And then the next part is going to be for finding a real estate specific attorney. And same thing, you want them to be experienced with closings, experienced with title searches, all of the above. So, and make sure that they're accessible to you because you will have to attend the closing with them at their office. Next slide, please. So once you have all this in order, you have your team assembled, time to start identifying some properties. So usually what I say is make a list. What are your non-negotiables? What are you looking for? What's the biggest items that you need in this home? Is it location? Do you need it to be close to your work? Good schools? If it's farther from work, are you able to commute in? Are you looking for public transportation? Are you driving? All things to consider. Property type. What type of property are you looking for? There's condos, which are huge in the Boston metro area. Single family homes and multifamily. What do you need? What are your non-negotiables in those? And then the desired features. What must you have? What must be included at these properties? When you do speak with your agent, you want to have these out so they can help you find that property that you are looking for. Next slide, please. So you found a place. Now what? I'm going to kick it off to the real expert. Daisy's going to walk you through what to do next.
Thank you, Ryan. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We're so excited to be here, and we hope that the information that we provide today is of help to you. Next slide, please. Once you have found a property and are ready to make an offer, your real estate agent will be the person that helps you prepare an offer to present to the seller. Your agent should be diligent in presenting your offer to the seller's team and on making sure that you receive a response back in a timely fashion. Essentially, whatever you wish to have happen as part of your offer and as part of your purchase transaction, you want to make sure that it's in writing. Because if it's not in writing, it's not true. Once you present your offer, on your offer, you should indicate your desired purchase price, your intended down payment, your intended closing date, and any contingencies that you wish to have as part of the transaction, such as a home inspection contingency, a finance mortgage contingency, and an appraisal contingency. And if you're buying a condominium, you want to make sure that you request the condominium documents and review the documents, including the finance documents, just to basically confirm the stability of the condominium association. If you want to make sure that your interest is protected in the transaction, we advise you to hire an attorney. You don't have to hire an attorney, but especially if you're a first-time home buyer, it's highly advisable for you to hire an attorney just to make sure that they review everything and advise you on basically what you're signing and what you are agreeing to as part of the purchase and sales agreement. Please refer to the recording on day 2, where attorney Sarah Riccardelli went over the process of the purchase and sales agreement. Once the seller accepts your offer, you will be required to give a deposit to the seller. And essentially what this deposit is so you can have the property held, not listed on the marketplace for sale. And so you have enough time to do your own due diligence. Whether that be do an inspection on the property to make sure that everything is working, like any major potential issues are, reviewed just to make sure that you know what you're buying, and so you have enough time to find financing or obtain financing to purchase a property. Next slide, please. Once your offer is accepted and you are sure that you will not be changing your mind on the property because you've done an inspection, you want to go and submit an application. This will help expedite the processing of your transaction. The application process is very involved, no matter who the lender is that you choose. There are a lot of moving pieces and a lot of information is required, which is why preparation is key. Learning as much as you can about the mortgage process, like you're doing today by attending this home buying forum, and having a positive frame of mind, as well as having the right team on your side, are very important. Once you choose a lender, a loan product, and submit your mortgage application, the mortgage interest rate is usually locked for a set period of time, typically 60 days. The lender is the one who orders the appraisal with a licensed appraiser, and the appraiser will need a copy of the signed purchase and sales agreement to complete the appraisal report. The lender will provide you with a loan estimate approximately 3 business days after you've locked your interest rate and submitted your application, and the loan estimate will indicate the terms of your loan, your projected payments, and any closing costs that will be associated with your transaction. You and any other applicant that is a part of your transaction will be asked to provide supporting documentation. You should aim to submit the supporting documentation within 5 to 10 days from the day you submitted your application. A few items, next slide, please. So a few pieces of things that you may want to keep in mind is that you don't want to hold off on applying for any new credit or obtaining new debt until after you close on your mortgage. Try not to make too many transfers between your asset accounts during the application process, because you're going to have to explain every transfer that you make from account to account. Make sure that you inform your lender of any special circumstances that may apply to your transaction and which could potentially delay your application, such as that your property you're financing is a new construction or a condominium conversion. Typically, those two types of transactions are more involved, and there may be potential delays depending, just because there's a lot more third-party persons involved in the transaction. The supporting documentation that the lender will request to render a decision on your transaction typically includes a copy of your signed purchase and sales agreement, proof of income, and proof of sufficient funds to close. If you're receiving a gift to cover your down payment, the gift must come from an immediate family member, and said gift must be deposited into one of your asset accounts at least 15 business days before your scheduled closing date. The loan estimate document can be used as a comparison tool so you can shop for the best loan product that may fit your needs. The loan estimate document is just that, an estimate. Towards the end of your transaction, the closing attorney will confirm the actual cost for which you will be responsible to pay as part of the transaction. Closing costs refers to the charges, fees, prepaid items, and escrow deposits that you will need to pay to complete your purchase transaction. Make sure to pay attention to your rate lock period. Your transaction must be finalized before your rate lock expires. Otherwise, you can lose your interest rate, and you may have to pay a fee to extend your rate lock. There are two main ways in which the lender will inform you that a decision has been made on your transaction. You will either receive an adverse action, denial, or a mortgage loan commitment letter. If you're going through the pre-approval process with a reputable lender, your chances of getting a commitment letter are significantly higher. A mortgage loan commitment letter confirms that your lender will provide the funds that you need in order to purchase the property. This document is the proof needed to confirm that you have met the finance contingency listed on the purchase and sales agreement. After your commitment letter is issued, there may be more documents needed from you in order for the underwriting team to give the final clear to close on your transaction. After any approval conditions are satisfied, your mortgage file will be cleared for closing, by the mortgage underwriting team, and the closing attorney will be notified to start preparing your file for closing. A few days before your closing date, the lender will verify employment and will perform a soft credit check just to ensure that you can still afford the mortgage that they're lending you. Next slide, please. The closing attorney will be the one that sets the time for your closing. You will be receiving a closing disclosure package, basically confirming any costs associated with your transaction, approximately 7 business days before your scheduled closing date. Make sure that you compare the costs listed on the closing disclosures against the most recent loan estimate that you received from your lender. All applicants on the transaction will need to acknowledge that they have received this closing disclosure document prior to at least 4 business days prior to your scheduled closing date. Next slide, please.
So you may be wondering now on this call, what's my next step? If you do want to reach out to the mortgage team here at the credit union, this link, which is going to be in the chat as well, will be your first step. That's where you'll see our current rates and see a place where you can apply for or you can sign up for an appointment with one of our mortgage loan officers so you can get the conversation started. So please do reach out, and we'd love to hear from you. Now our panelists are back on screen, and I'm going to be asking questions that people have been putting into the chat. Go ahead and drop your questions into the Q&A feature if you have some, but I'm going to ask both questions that we've received live during this webinar, as well as questions that people had submitted ahead of time. So we're going to try and get to as many questions as we can. Thank you to our experts for quickly walking us through all those steps of the process, because I know it's a lot, and especially if it's a first time, but even someone who's done it before, you know, if you're not an expert, I know for me, I've had the opportunity to buy and sell a few times, and yet still, I don't remember those steps really well because it's complicated. And it's really nice to have experts who can walk you through the process. So thank you. We've had a few questions both ahead of time and live about student loans and how do student loans impact people's ability to borrow, and can you speak to that a little bit, please?
You want me to start, Daisy? We can alternate.
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so any kind of outstanding debts there, they're going to have to be calculated into your debt obligation. So when we do run your credit, we will see that monthly payment there for the student loans that we will have to factor in. So that will be included into your debt to income ratio that will need to conform to our guidelines. So something to keep in mind, but individually, please reach out to us and we can walk you through it.
And I'll just refer you also back to the chat. There's the link for GreenPath. If you're kind of in those beginning stages and want to do some free financial counseling with GreenPath about your debts and that kind of thing, your credit, how to improve it, you can get free counseling from them, and then very low cost debt management plans if that's something that you decide you want to do through the credit union. So they're a nonprofit as well, and are available to people for help with that. We have a few questions about pre-qualification. I'll ask the first one, I guess, to Daisy. Do you recommend doing the pre-qualification step in person or online?
So typically the pre-qualification process it's like a phone call conversation where you can do it either via Zoom, in person, or over the phone. The most important part is that you have all the information that you want to present to the loan officer. We're able to prepare a scenario for you and give you ideas on how to proceed moving forward.
Yeah. And just a follow-up, Daisy, is there any harm in getting multiple pre-approvals to shop around for rates?
I mean, there's no harm, but there's not a need to do multiple pre-approvals with lenders, because you're not going to lock the rate at the time of pre-approval. typically the rate is locked once you have found a property. So if you choose to work with a lender, it may be best to like just go choose one lender to do the pre-approval. And then once you have found a property, it's when you shop for rates and decide, which lender has the best product for you.
And then I guess I'll just alternate to Ryan. How do I save for a down payment when I have a lot of other costs that I have to juggle? Do you have any advice for folks who are trying to save their down payment?
Yeah, I mean, I think I touched upon this yesterday. Just kind of setting up a plan is really the biggest way to go. And if you need any assistance with that plan, using GreenPath is going to be one of your best tools to do so.
Great, thank you. I will also mention tomorrow session again is on the affordable path to homeownership. And we're going to touch on, it's mostly related to Massachusetts buyers, just to warn you, but we are going to touch on down payment assistance programs and what the eligibility criteria for some of those are. So join us for that, or if you can't come tomorrow, check out the YouTube later once that's posted. Okay, Daisy, what's your advice about should I purchase a multifamily or a triple decker or a two-family for income property? And how does that factor into approvals?
So a multifamily is a potentially a great idea. However, if you're a first-time home buyer, you may not be able to utilize the rental income to qualify to purchase a property. But there may be like tomorrow they're going to be talking about like mass housing. So there may be an option for you to do that. But even still, in order to purchase a multifamily, you will have to, as a first-time home buyer, you will have to qualify on your own income.
Thank you. We did have a question about if you have a family member who is willing to give you a gift for part of your down payment or all of it, is there a certain amount of time that needs to be in their account before they can start the process to get pre-qualified or qualified?
So in order for that to be in the account, we won't need it for, to be pre-qualified. It's just that is going to have to be deposited up to 15 days before closing. And we're going to give you what's called a gift letter. It's a standard form that the donor, whoever is gifting you from your family, whichever family member, will sign, that amount, certifying that those funds are indeed a gift. They're not going to be due back upon, the close or anything like that. So just in the account, yeah, short answer, 15 days prior to close, but it's something that we'll discuss as we do pre-qualify and pre-approve you.
So in day one, we got a lot of advice from realtors, and one of the things that they suggested was definitely be using a buyer's agent, which you have both reinforced. Does the credit union have a list of vetted buyer's agents, or how does one go about finding a buyer's agent as a realtor?
So due to our experience, we've worked with multiple real estate agents, and we could give you recommendations on real estate agents that you may want to use. But essentially what you want to do is work with somebody that you're comfortable with, and somebody, as Ryan mentioned, that is full-time, that is located in the area where you want to buy a property, because you want somebody that basically is going to be available for you and that you jive with. They're going to give you advice and that you trust, and that you know that they're going to have your best interest at heart when you're looking to purchase a property.
Yeah, just to add on to that, just a little bit, call around, set up an interview, see who you're going to click with, because they're going to be essential in this transaction for you. So you definitely want to make sure you have a good rapport with them. So you can call multiple ones, schedule, they'll talk with you, schedule it, and make sure everything, is fitting your needs, and go from there.
Yeah. We've had a few questions about where the credit union is able to lend. So Daisy, could you speak to that about where can people buy property and get financing from the credit union?
Sure. So right now we have license to finance all of New England and Florida. So if you're looking to buy a property in New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Florida, we're able to help you with.
Okay, thank you. Ryan, do you have any advice for a first-time employed home buyers who are 60 plus?
Pretty much everything we've covered this week is, it's their age is no limitation for obtaining a mortgage, nothing like that. The only thing is just you probably want to discuss a little further with a financial professional, with like a planner or a green path, just kind of seeing, what's your outlook going to be in the next couple years, where you're going to be in retirement if that's upcoming, and then we can go from there. But you still qualify for all these great first-time homebuyer benefits, which is awesome.
Let's see. Does the credit union offer VA loans? Veterans Administration?
Not at this time. So at this time, we offer conventional mortgages, regulated by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and as well as pretty soon we'll offering mass housing loans.
So tomorrow we'll cover those mass housing loans for people who are interested in that. Let's see. Can we, who are a married couple, access first-time homebuyer benefits if one of us is a previous property owner and the other has never owned property? So one has
Yeah.
owned in the past, one never. I know for some of the programs that have fairly complicated eligibility, we are going to cover ins and outs of that tomorrow for some of the affordable programs, but anything else you want to add today?
Yeah. So, just to kind of cover it, what qualifies as a first-time home buyer is an individual that has not owned a property, had ownership in the past 3 years. So you could have previously owned something, say 4 or 5 years ago, sold it, you're going to be eligible. But even if if two partners say, one is a first-time home buyer, one is not, you still will qualify as long as one of the applicants is a first-time home buyer. You're eligible for the benefits.
And just to reiterate an answer that we did earlier, that I see there's a new question about. Yes, the credit union does finance in Florida and in New England, and those are the states that we are able to finance in right now. So someone's looking to purchase their first home in Florida, yes, we can help you with that. What happens after the 90 days has passed for your pre-approval? Do you apply again if you haven't found a property? What does that process look like?
So typically, the pre-approval, as mentioned, is valid for 90 days. If, let's say, by day 85, you're still actively looking to for a property to purchase, we can extend the pre-approval for another 90 days. We just have to verify your income, and depending on how much time has passed, we may have to check your credit one more time. But typically, once with the same credit check, as long as you're actively looking and nothing has changed, and like your finances, your financial circumstances, then the pre-approval could be valid potentially for 180 days, 6 months.
Thank you. Ryan, could you tell us a little bit about what is the minimum down payment?
Yeah, so on a conventional mortgage, you're looking at 5%, but we do have some great programs. We can go as low as 3% through some Fannie Mae programs, and then also some lower down payment options through the mass housing program as well. So the minimum, I would say, is 3%. Just have that rule of thumb in mind.
Let's see. So we've had a couple questions about variations on questions about the pros and cons of buying an existing home versus building. Can you speak a little bit to how whether or not the credit union offers construction loans?
So at this time, we do not offer construction loans, so the property will have to be basically an existing property, and the property, you have to be able to move into the property within 60 days after closing in order for the credit union to finance.
Right, thank you. Are there questions that you recommend that the buyers are ready to ask a buyer's agent when you first speak to them? Like, how do you screen them? What do you ask? And I know you mentioned full-time.
Yeah, full-time. Have you done any? I think it really kind of comes down to the locality. So if you find, a a buyer's agent that's local in the area you want to buy. See if they've had any closings, have they had any listings. A lot of this is public data too, even before you screen them, just to kind of see what they've, kind of done in your area. But as far as questions go, I just really want to pin down, make sure that they're going to be available to you 7 days a week. A lot of these transactions, they're going to be taking place over the weekend. So you want to make sure that they're full time in this industry.
Got it. Daisy, if a buyer knows on this call knows that their salary is going to change drastically because they're going from postdoc to faculty, but they don't have pay stubs yet from that job, can you use they have a letter saying that they are going to be hired on as faculty. Can you use that as a proof of income, a letter that they've been appointed?
Yes, so we may be able to use the letter as long as you'll be able to supply us with a pay stub within approximately 30 to 45 days after closing. So it all depends on when you're starting your new position and whether or not that you're going to be able to provide a pay stub shortly after closing.
Great. Okay. Are there additional steps that would be needed, Ryan, if you're going to apply for a mortgage with a partner that you're not married to? Can you speak to that, please?
Additional steps, no, it's just that the application is going to come in a little separately. So it's going to be there'll just be kind of like a screening question on there, just that you're non-married co-borrowers. That's really it. So there's really no discrimination at all. So no changes.
Okay. Daisy, if I find a realtor or buyer's agent that I'm comfortable with, can they usually recommend an attorney, or is that a whole separate process for most people to find an attorney?
They could recommend an attorney, but same thing with like when you hire an agent, you want to make sure the attorney is somebody that's going to be accessible and available to answer your questions, especially when you are negotiating with a purchase and sales agreement. And as Ryan mentioned earlier, you're going to have to go to the attorney's office. So you want to make sure there's somebody that is close to where you're closing or that is accessible to you. So when the closing happens, that you go to their office.
Thank you, Daisy. Ryan, if I have a small amount left on a student loan and relatively low interest, is it better to pay that off before applying for a mortgage, or is it okay to have that debt still?
It's okay to have, I mean, not necessarily required. It all kind of comes down to what is that minimum monthly payment and where is that kind of, landing on your debt to income ratio. So we can weigh the options for you. Sometimes it could be beneficial if it is a high payment, you can use part of your down payment just to kind of consolidate that, pay it off. Then we can eliminate that to help you qualify for more. But again, once we kind of get into the nuts and bolts of everything, we can really, figure out the best plan for you to do with that. But it's not necessary. Absolutely not.
And then a follow-up question, because sort of similar. If I pay off all my credit card debt, is there a timeline when I should pay off this debt? So is it the same for credit cards, like that you were gonna just weigh it on debt to income ratio?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. We can even, sometimes we have discussions saying that this will be contingent upon you paying these off, prior to close. So they could be required pay downs in order to qualify. We see situations like that. So again, no blanket statement, to kind of cover that, but we can absolutely see. One thing with the credit cards, we do only factor in the minimum monthly payments on those balances. So even if you have a little bit of a balance, it's usually a very manageable monthly debt that we're using.
And I will just say from a financial education point of view that you may want to be paying more than your minimum. So again, Green Path is available to help you if you're facing a lot of debt or you're trying to figure out what your next steps are in regards to debt. Okay, including student loans. They do offer counseling around student loan repayment. We've had a couple questions related to how much house should I buy? How do I know what my ideal price is when I'm looking at the market? Because I know it's tough. It's really hard to find something that you can afford. So how do you know, Daisy, how much house you can buy?
So number one, set up an appointment to basically talk about going through a pre-qualification. You don't want to be house poor, So you want to keep in mind also what else you want to do with your life. You don't want to just live to be paying a high mortgage or a high housing payment. So you want to keep that in the back of your mind, whether you want to still contribute to retirement, travel, if you have to pay childcare, etc. So even though we may give you a pre-approval for like a higher amount based on your finances, you may want to just keep in mind what it is that you want to do as well, as part of, aside from, being tied to having work just to pay a housing payment.
Yeah, good point. Ryan, how does it work how does the closing work if they're buying property in Maine and the credit union's providing the mortgage?
Oh yeah, sure thing. So again, you're welcome to use your own attorney for this closing. So we have attorneys that we work with that cover the state of Maine who are great. They're phenomenal. They'll come and meet you. They have local offices, or you can even find, through referrals up in, if you're looking in the Maine area, a local title company or attorney. Welcome to use them. We can get you, we can get them approved to handle your transaction for you and us. So you'll attend the closing there. Generally, it's going to be at the attorney's office. That's usually just the central location for all these closings.
Thank you. Daisy, one of our attendees isn't ready to purchase yet, but is planning to buy in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, or New York in the future. Are there any plans for the credit union to expand to other states for mortgage financing?
So there's no time frame yet, but we're hoping to have to offer financing nationwide. But at this time, there's no time frame of when that's going to happen.
So please stay tuned. We definitely will, for members, we'll be keeping you up to date if that does come to pass that we're able to finance elsewhere. I'm sorry, Daisy, I cut you off. Was there something else?
Okay. We're good.
Okay. Here's a question that's a little different. This attendee their income comes from a foreign country. How does that affect pre-approval?
So we will need to heavily document this a little, further. We'll need some, we'll need your tax returns from, and we can discuss it a little more on a call, but we should be able to use it. We may be able to use it. We'll just have to, make sure we can qualify and document it very well. So collect all your taxes, all the income sources, and we can take a look.
Yeah. We have a few questions about first-time homebuyer benefits. And again, we are going to cover a lot of programs tomorrow, but Daisy, you want to say a little bit about first-time homebuyer benefits and what might be available?
Sure. So as Ryan mentioned, there's an interest rate discount, as well as there's a discount towards the closing costs for first-time homebuyers, and the pre-approval is free of charge.
Great, thank you. Ryan, how long does it typically take to close on a home? What should people anticipate?
Just the standard is probably about 30 days or so, if not quicker. But I would say 30 days is kind of the norm right now. You have 60 days on your rate lock for the application, so keep that in mind. But this market, a little crazy. Sometimes they want a quicker turnaround, which is totally possible. It's doable. So, but yeah, general one's 30 days.
Okay. Daisy, if a buyer on this call is on leave, on family and medical leave right now, does that affect any step in the process in terms of providing pay stubs? So they're still being paid, I hope, but yeah.
Correct. So it depends on when you're returning back to work, just because we may need to use the income that you're earning now. And if the income that you're earning now is less than what you typically earn, the amount that you qualify for is obviously going to be affected based on that. But if you, depending on the time from when you're going to return to work, we may be able, it's similar to like if you're changing your job and earning a higher income, we may be able to take into account the higher income as long as we're able to verify what that income is, and that is going to happen rather quickly.
Thank you. Ryan, could you tell us a little bit about what is PMI? How do I know when I'm going to have to pay it or what that means?
Sure. So PMI, it's private mortgage insurance. That's going to be required on all purchase or real estate, real estate loans that are less than 20% down or 20% equity in the property. So that'll be kind of individualized to you as the borrower based on loan amount, credit scores, items like that. How you will pay it is we will escrow that. We're going to collect that as part of your principal and interest payment. So it'll be, and it's not for the life of the loan. So always keep that in mind. It kind of seems like something that's there, but it will be eliminated once you have hit that kind of mark there of the equity qualification in the property.
Yeah, that's always a nice moment when you feel
Yeah.
like you get a raise because you don't have to pay PMI anymore. Yeah, nice. Okay, I think we've answered most of the questions. I guess one last question from a buyer. Is it ever advisable to make a very large down payment? A nice situation to be in. Daisy, can you speak to that?
Sure. I mean, it all depends on what else is going on. If you're buying a property that is like a fixer-upper or a property you want to make changes to, it may be advisable to reduce the down payment so you can make those changes on the property and eventually maybe refinance when the rates go down, et cetera. And if a year or more has passed after, let's say that a year has passed after you have, bought the property and are ready to refinance, we may be able to take into account the changes to remove PMI if that was the case in your transaction.
Thank you. Ryan, is there any benefit to being married when buying a house? So maybe someone's trying to decide whether that's something they need to move forward with before they buy a house.
As far as benefits go, nothing really on the mortgage end that kind of comes to mind for that. There's no other kind of programs or anything, that kind of assist you with that. There might be some great tax benefits, but I'm going to defer that to a tax, kind of tax advisor, because, the mortgage interest items like that, you can absolutely discuss the benefits in that regard for sure.
Great, thank you. And I will just say, as someone who is divorced myself, that it can be complicated if on the other end, if when you buy a house together and you're married, there are certain protections around how that's split up. And I think if you're not married, there can be complications. So just something to talk to an attorney about, I certainly, and what your rights are going to be. Daisy, does being a current renter impact your approval if you're not able to line up your lease end with the move-in date? How does that work? If like those timing things can be tricky, especially when people are trying to put together as much money as they need for this.
I mean, so that would be maybe speak with your landlord, just so that you can align, and maybe your real estate agent could also help you with the timing on negotiating what the closing date would be for, basically the purchase that you're trying to make.
We do have a question about first-time home buyers in Boston. Are there programs available for down payment assistance through the city of Boston? I will mention that again tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the affordable path to homeownership. We're largely going to cover statewide programs and City of Cambridge. We're going to have a representative from the City of Cambridge, but we will try and at least put in the links in the chat there tomorrow if there's a Boston program available as well.
There's definitely additional resources out there, such as grants, items like that. Like just
Yep.
one off the top of the head, you can take a look at Federal Home Loan Bank. They're in the Boston area, and they might have some grants. There's some qualifications that you need to kind of meet, income caps, items like that, but they're absolutely out there. So it's a good resource to take a look at.
Great, thank you. Okay, I think that we have answered all of the questions that are open. Oh, we did have a question, is Green Path a free service? And I will mention that all the counseling that they provide is free through referral by the credit union. So if you go through the link in the chat or the link that's on the credit union website, in order to get to Green Path, you can have free counseling. There is a cost, which is heavily discounted if you enter into what's called a debt management program with them. So that's a more complicated situation where maybe you're facing crushing debt or overwhelming debt. and you can't, it's hard to manage it all. And so GreenPath as a nonprofit can offer a debt management plan. And I believe it's $75 with referral through the credit union to set up one of those. And then you're making one payment then to GreenPath, and then they're paying your creditors according to a plan. And there's lots of pros and cons to that. And GreenPath is, again, a nonprofit, so they will go through with you whether that would make sense for you. So, but all the just basic counseling, yes, that is free. So you can go ahead and take advantage of that. We definitely recommend that. Thank you so much to our panelists. I do want to just go through a few more slides so people know how to reach you and that kind of thing. So we're going to do that so that we can stay on time for folks. So we do have a whole team here at the credit union for home financing. And again, each of these mortgage loan officers is available and has a home base within the credit union where they're typically meeting clients, but meeting buyers, but you certainly can reach out to any of them. Their emails are here. And then the easiest way in the chat is just through, you can get the link for HUECU/mortgages. So you can reach out to us and check current rates and everything that is available through the credit union. We would love to have your feedback on this event as well as prior any events of the Homebuyer Forum. Please fill out a survey and let us know what we can do better or differently. We appreciate your feedback. Just a disclaimer, all of the advice on this webinar is, of course, educational in nature. We don't know your full situation. It's not tax, legal, or investment advice. Please reach out to our mortgage loan officers for individual information about your pre-qualification, that kind of thing, and to other experts that you might have for tax, legal, or investment advice. And we look forward to hopefully seeing some of you tomorrow at the Affordable Path to Homeownership. Again, all these are recorded, so if you cannot make it tomorrow, you could see the recording when those are posted, probably sometime next week. And please do keep in touch. Our handle on all social channels, including YouTube, is MyHUECU. And our website is there and a way to get in touch with us. So thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists. And we appreciate you all for attending. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.